Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my guest is Russ Morgan. Russ, you want to start off by just giving everyone a bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, I'm a recovering investment advisor. I was a certified financial planner. And I thought I had the world figured out, and then when the global financial crisis happened back in '08, I realized that not only did I not know anything, but 99% of all the investment advisors in the world didn't know anything either. And because I was going and asking all these people questions, Glenn, and nobody had the answers to the problems. Now, we all either read The Big Short or then later watched The Big Short, and we're like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
Right.
But yeah. I went in and went on this journey, started in 2009, of trying to figure out what were ways, if the investment markets were not going to be the ways for me personally to create wealth, and then also for me to help people that I was advising at the time create wealth, what were those options? And it led me down a long road, and ultimately to building a company called Wealth Without Wall Street, where we teach people how to become better investors, how to actually build passive income that exceeds their monthly expenses, what we believe is what true financial freedom is, so that you get to work because you want to, not because you have to. And there's lots of different ways to do that. And we realize that most people don't rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their systems, and they just haven't been taught how to become good investors. They don't have good systems. They follow what other people are doing because they think that that's the right thing, or they just sit around and listen and watch and don't do anything and always have this regret. And so my goal is to help 1 million people become financially free. We have this big audacious goal that we want our brand to be synonymous with the word financial freedom, and being able to share it on a show like yours is awesome. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And you mentioned you said something about the banks not knowing what they're doing, or really, we were talking before this, and you're talking also about unless you're dealing with a family office or the big ones, a lot of times the advice you're getting is potentially not the best.
It's pretty generic, right? Here's the reality is that an investment advisor, if they're good, may have upwards of 500 to 1,000 clients. So you can just break down the math. What's the reality? How much time do they really have to analyze your specific accounts? They don't. And if you want to invest with someone, right, the best advice I would give you, assuming that investment advisor is good, is one, show me what you're doing and show me the success that you're having. And if they're having great success, say, just put me in what you're doing. Because what will happen, guaranteed, is that they will watch their own money. And if they move your money when they move theirs and they're having any success, then you'll have success. But the majority of people out there are investing with people assuming that person, I've got my lady, my guy, whatever it is, and they assume that they're every beating minute they're watching their accounts, they're making the adjustments, but the reality is they're not. And so things go up, things go down, but it has nothing to do with that individual. And yet they continue to trade time for money. And that's the biggest frustration that we hear from people, is that I'm missing out on all these opportunities. I'm not able to, spend the time with my family, go on the trips I want to do, all the things. And we're like, hey, well, quit abdicating that responsibility. Nobody's going to care about your money more than you do. Take ownership of the process. Doesn't mean you have to do everything, but you need to understand how things work. And if you do, then you can have outcomes that far exceed what you expected early on.
That makes a lot of sense. So for people, some people, they're interested in having a passive investment. Is this something that takes a lot of work?
Man, passivity does not mean uninvolved, right? So what I typically will say is that passive income is usually pre-funded income, meaning that you either funded it with actual active work, right? You had to go to work, make enough money to be able to invest in some project, and or you actually had to do the research on the deal, the operator, all the environment which you're going to invest in. So you knew what to inspect, what you expected from that outcome, and then you can invest. So no, passive income is not purely passive. You should always be involved in the process. And if you are involved, you can actually reduce the risk. You can reduce the opportunity for loss and actually increase return as a result.
And then a high level, what is it that they're they need to learn? Like, is it that just need to learn how things are, how the money's moving? Like, what are people not understanding?
Hey, Glenn, I actually came across this concept called investor DNA, and I believe all of us have it. It's the way that we see the world. Most people have taken some level of personality assessment, right? Culture index, Myers-Briggs, DISC, Colby, whatever these things are. And we internally, we process information from a certain lens. Well, we should invest using those gifts, right? So my investor DNA is somebody who likes to be involved. I love business, right? I like to influence outcomes. You know, the first thing I did, I know you're a real estate investor, so this is not to say real estate investing is bad. This is to say it's not for everyone. So the very first deal, quote unquote passive thing I invested in was a real estate project in my college town, which is the opposite of that t-shirt you're wearing. It was Auburn, Alabama. And I bought this, condo down there, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a real estate tycoon, right? All my best clients own lots of real estate. They were very successful. So don't reinvent the wheel, just do what they were doing. That's what I was thinking. And I invested in this project, and it wasn't that the $97 a month wasn't good, right? Yeah. It was the fact that I couldn't influence the outcome. And I thought, I don't like this. I couldn't put my finger on why. And it wasn't until later on I realized, when we identified this concept of investor DNA, matching up your profile, your personality to the investments that you do, that I didn't resonate with the passivity of it to the uninvolvement in it. And I'm like, oh, having this revelation and going, that's why I don't like it, because I can't be involved. So I told my business partner, it's like, well, why don't we start a short-term rental business? And you know what we did, Glenn? Within 18 months, we grew that business to over 25 units. And I loved every bit of it. Not because I ran it, because I did not. We hired a manager. We trained the manager. We put the manager in. We met with the manager once a week and talked about management structures, marketing structures, finance structures, whatever. And we invested tons and tons of money, and it grew. And we're producing $25,000, $30,000 a month net in passive income to us as a result. And I was like, aha. Here's what it is. So I believe that most people need to know who they are first before they go invest. Then yes, there's a lot of other things. I got to know investor buy box. I need to be able to do due diligence on deals. I need to go, on and on and on. But I would say most people need to start first with who they are before they start investing.
If I can ask a really honest question, are people really open to this? Because, a lot of people, they just want to work their 9 to 5 and then just dump the income with a bank or a banker or a financial planner or something. I get it, because I'm an active guy as well. But like, what do you hear back from people that they want to learn more about this, or is it something you have to like encourage them to go down that path?
Are you interested in investing in the US? I honestly see Canadians making tons of mistakes, simple mistakes that could be avoided by just a quick phone call. Honestly, I think we should just get on a 15-minute call. You ask me some questions, I answer some questions, and I tell you a little bit about the coaching program. We see if it's a fit. My coaching program is completely different than other people's. What my goal is to help you actually implement the material. All the videos are pre-recorded, so you can just zip through those on your own time. But when you're actually buying property, this is what sets me apart, is that we actually sit down, you do your deal analysis, you have questions, ask me some questions. Let me go through it with you. Let me help you. And this is what's going to set it apart. This is why you're going to avoid mistakes. You're going to miss those little things that you just missed that could cost you a lot of money. Maybe I can see it. Maybe my experience. I've been doing this for a while down in the US. Let me help you. Let's do a quick 15-minute call. If that's of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com and you can book a 15-minute call. Anyway, hope this is helpful. Thanks, everyone.
Well, does most people want to do this? No. Most people want to stick their head in the sand, press the easy button, keep going to work, right? But I don't think that's a person that's listening to your show. I don't think that's a person that listens to ours, right? Because there's some level...
Put their head in the sand. They wouldn't be listening to this.
Right. There's some level of, I want to do something different because the outcomes that I've been receiving is not what I wanted. But no, I do think the majority of the world... it just wants someone else to do it, wants to abdicate that responsibility off. Now, the person who has gotten to a level of success, but still a level of frustration, starts looking. And that's when they end up on a podcast like this. And they're trying to figure out what is possibly as a Canadian can do and invest in that will help me get to my goals. Oh, is it invested in the US? I'm interested. What does that mean? And they don't know what that means. And they're listening to your guest and you to help them go to there. But there is going to be an involvement. There is a level. I do think most people want to press the easy button, but those who want to be successful realize that, in all things, I need to understand what's going on if I'm going to get an outcome that I really want that outcome to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so people need to get off the sidelines. They need to do this. Why are people sitting there then? Why don't they want to do this?
They're afraid. I think the easiest thing for someone listening right now, and it's okay if you haven't invested in a deal yet, and you've been listening to Glenn's show for a year, 2 years, 5 years, however long, and you haven't invested, it's probably because you don't know what to do yet. So what can you do? Well, first, learn who you are. Like, learn what your investor DNA is. Be able to start eliminating, because I think so. You go to the world of investing. I know you specialize in real estate, but real estate is so broad, right? I mean, are you investing in multifamily, single family? Are you doing fix and flip? Are you doing short-term rental? What type of short-term rental? Are you doing commercial stuff? You're doing vacation properties? Oh, are you doing, storage facilities?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's so much stuff.
There's on and on and on and on and on and on, right? So because of that, a confused mind does what?
Nothing.
So how do you simplify things? So you have to create frameworks for yourself that simplifies. So what I would say to people is, one, you learn who you are as an investor. Two, understand how much money do you actually have to invest? There's so many systems, so many processes, frameworks you can put in your life. If I have $1, will it produce a passive income or will it reduce a monthly expense? Do I have access to the dollar so I can even choose to do that? If I'm going to invest in something, what is the outcome of that thing going to be? Will it produce a passive income, or do I have to wait 6 months, 6 years before it does something? Does that match my goal? There's a lot of pre-thinking that has to go into stuff. And I think, unfortunately, we just start listening. And so we don't know how to filter stuff out. And so it's noise to us. But there's this thing called the reticular, I'm going to incorrectly say this, the reticular activating system. You ever heard of this, Glenn?
No.
You have, but differently, right? So, okay. Glenn, whatever car you drive, my assumption is as soon as you bought that car, you started driving down the road, you were excited about it. You're like, this is cool. This is new to me. And then all of a sudden you're riding around and what do you start seeing all over the road?
Same car.
Yeah. And so your brain has now said, this thing's important to you. I'm going to start pointing it out. Before it was just filtering it out, right? Well, I would tell people about investing. It becomes true to all of this noise. And so we do nothing because we have thousands and thousands of signals coming into our brain every single minute. And so our brain's just filtering out saying, hey, you don't need that. But as soon as you focus on the thing that you're interested in, you'll start seeing it everywhere. And that opportunity will get bigger and bigger. So I have a buddy of mine that says the deal of a lifetime comes around twice a week. They really do when you know what you're looking for.
I see that everywhere with all kinds of investments now and stuff that's not even real estate. My mind, if I order pizza or call the pizza place and they're like, yeah, we're too busy. I'm like, wonder what it would be like to own a pizza place in this town. Like there obviously is a demand. They can't fill it. Same thing. You need an electrician, a plumber. I'm like, wonder what it would be like to own this company. Like, I wonder if we can buy one. Like, everything I start looking at. And maybe to go for the kind of investments you're doing, what kind of things, just do people learn in order to, and then what do they start seeing? To be a little bit more specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think once you figure out what your investor DNA is inclined to, right? So we have this matrix.
Is that risk tolerance, or what do you mean by that?
No. So maybe DISC is the most familiar one. So I'll use it. So DISC. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you got the driver, you got the influencer, you got the steady, the empathetic person, you got the C, caution. So out of those four, which one would you say you probably are?
So repeat them again for me.
You got a driver, very straightforward, or you got the influencer who likes being involved and likes excitement, the empathizer who really thinks about, okay, how does this affect other people? Or the analytical is just tell me the numbers. I don't care about anything else.
I think I'm more like the second one, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So that's like me. So what you're looking for is the excitement in the deal. Right. So what you're going to say, there's all these pros, right? So if I asked you, what are the pros to the type of investments that you're invested in? What do you internally like about it? What would be just one or two things you would tell me?
Whether it's one of my real estate projects?
Yeah.
It could be the return on investment, the that would be the base one, like what we're going to improve on this property, even like how we're fixing up a neighborhood, how like it's gonna improve that area, it's gonna improve our lives. There's I don't know, depending what we're talking about. I'm being very general, but I
No,
can get
no,
excited about all
but
this stuff.
and if you're listening to this, as you're listening to this, you're hearing Glenn get excited. I can see a smile,
Yeah,
right? You're visioning. You're a vision person, right?
yeah,
Now, what are the cons? Some of the cons of what you don't like about the things that you're investing in.
yeah. It could be the current neighborhood, the current tenant profile that's going to be in that property. It could be uh your certain contractor, your property manager, somebody in that neighborhood that you're going to have to work with, problems you've had with them in the past. You're going to have to go back to that communication issue, or that timeliness issue, or you're going to have to start fixing these. You're always trying to fix these, but you're like, what you're going to go back into. You're going to have to start another one and battle your way through another. I don't know. There's always positives and negatives.
Yeah, well, but no, the beauty of it is you're describing those things. You're describing the cons, which are like a lot of the details, right? Someone who's really excited about the vision doesn't necessarily love getting involved in all the details.
Right.
Not good or bad. That's just describing who you are. So then when you go to look at investments, you want to invest in things that's going to align, give you more of what you like, less of what you dislike. And then what will happen? You will get involved more, you invest more, you'll have better results, and you'll be completely aligned with it. So when I say people start out with this, they understand who that is, of like who they are internally, and then they'll invest more. Their results will be greater. When people just start investing things because other people are doing it, they assume, oh, just because Glenn is doing it or just because Russ is doing it, I can have success. That's bullcrap. No, you don't have the same background, you don't have the same resources, you don't have the same networks. All that stuff's different, and doesn't mean that you couldn't have a better result than Glenn or I, right? It just doesn't mean you'll have the same, because we're not the same.
Yeah. Interesting. No, I was busy listening. I didn't even come up with another question. Yeah. Okay. So we were talked about, there was a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. Like, what do we do? How do we move these people from, sideline people to investor people? How is there something we have to convince them, or is it something that comes on their own, or where are we at on that?
Yeah. So right now, as you're driving down the road, don't do this, but you can think it in your head. Don't fall off the treadmill. But the easy equation that you can solve for yourself right now: how close to financial freedom are you really? Right? All you have to do is take out how much income is coming in that's passive, meaning that you're not actively working for it, and divide it into how much in monthly expenses you have. So give you for instance, if you had $1,000 a month coming in passive income, you had $10,000 a month in monthly expenses, you'd be 10% of the way there. Well, now you know where you are in relationship to your goal. So if you're at zero and that is a frustration point to you, that's the urgency marker you need. So what's the first thing you do? You say, okay, well, how am I going to get to the first $1,000 a month? And you start analyzing, what's my investor DNA? What would I naturally be inclined to? How much access to cash do I have? Do I need to realign my finances in a way where I get access to money so that I can really start investing in deals when they come? Now I start looking at deals that align with who I am. Are they going to give me the thing that I want? So if I'm trying to build passive income, I'm not looking for return on investment. I'm looking for cash flow. And I think a lot of times people make mistakes there. So the way you align your investment strategy, which is probably a lot of what you teach. I know, Glenn, you're teaching investors how to invest in real estate. You've got to get yourself in a position where you can take advantage of it. And then you start measuring it. I think it's called Pearson's Law: what you track grows, but what you track and report on grows exponential. So I would tell you, who is the people in your life that you can start sharing this goal with? How can you get other people around you? So being a part of an investment group like yours, being a part of a coaching group, like being in a community like ours, people that are aligned, that are very similar to you, that can help you. You want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you go together, right? So how do you do these things? So there's just steps along the way to organizing everything that you're doing. But if you don't know where you're going, it's going to be hard to get there.
I love that. I love that you just mentioned like to share your goal with people. It's one of those things that a lot of people, they always want to hide that. They're afraid of telling people what they want, and then they never get it. Even when my daughter goes and blows out her candles on her cake for her birthday, and like say make a wish, and then I'm like, okay, what was the wish? And then she'll be like, oh, you can't tell anyone. I'm like, won't come true if I don't know what it is.
That's right. That's right. There's no magical wish fairy out there.
Yeah, no, that's good. And one thing you mentioned was access to cash. Is there like basically a threshold that you're just like, hey, if you don't have a lot of money, is this something you just put on the back burner for now?
No, it's not. We have an acronym here in Alabama. It's the redneck motor. Okay,
Okay.
There's five things needed to do a deal. You don't need all five, but you need at least one of the five, right? So M, right? Money. You need money. So how much money do you need? Well, it depends, right? So in some deals you need 25,000. Some deals you need 50,000. Some deals you need 250,000. Well, it depends. The second thing is the opportunity, because what we know is opportunities find cash. So if you have cash, opportunities will find you. Or if you have opportunities, someone else's cash will find your opportunity. So maybe you don't have access to money, but you have access to opportunities, and that money will come to you. The T is time. For people who don't have opportunities and don't have money, maybe they have time. They can put sweat equity into the deal. Maybe you could go find an investor who's super successful, like Glenn, for instance, and you can say, hey, how can I add value in your life? And as a part of that, be able to learn from what you're doing and get involved in deals. And we see people all the time who are able to do that. Now, and I said it's a redneck
That was
motor.
a golden nugget. If maybe you want to repeat that one more time, because I think a lot of people, they were just listening, they weren't really fully listening. Repeat that one.
So the T is time. Do
Yeah.
you have the time to add value to another super successful investor in any sort of way? I'll give you an example. We had a guy come on our podcast and he said, I knew nothing about real estate investing, but I wanted to. And so I went down to my local real estate investment association and I said, who's the best investors in this place? And they pointed out three people. And he said, I went and researched them. And I realized one of them had no presence online. And their gift was building websites. So he reached out to this person. Let's assume it was you, Glenn. Said, hey, Glenn, I was checking out your website and there's a lot of opportunity that you could improve this. I build websites. Here's what I would love to do is build you an amazing website for free so that you could be seen more online. As a result, I'm trying to learn how to become a real estate investor. Do you mind if I just tag along with you for the next 6 months and learn as a result of that? Would you be open to that? And so he said he literally got mentored by the best real estate investor in his area. And all it cost him was a little bit of his time to, one, build the guy a website, which he knew how to do in his sleep. Secondly, follow this person around so that he gained all of that knowledge. And there's so many opportunities, I think, for people who don't have money. So when you say, do you have to have money? No, you don't have to have money. You can have opportunity. Meaning you find a deal, money will come to you. Or you can have time to add value to someone else. Or the fourth one, which again, I said redneck motor. Most people would spell the motor with an O at the end, MOTOR. In
Yeah.
the South, we're going to say it's an ER.
All
So
right.
the E would be experience. Maybe you are the person who's super experienced in investing in a specific thing, and people will bring you in just to be that experience in the deal to help it from going bad. I know lots of people who get little slices of deal by just being the experience. They don't put in the money, they don't put in the opportunity, but they bring the experience to the deal. And the fifth one, the R, is relationships, right? It's not what you know is who you know. And man, those relationships, being in environments like I would imagine being in your coaching program and meeting other super successful people you bring around them is probably the best things it can be. I was at an event last week where I was in the highest level of room. I was the lowest person in the highest levels of room where I'm around
Perfect place to
people
be.
that are, yeah, oh, it's amazing. It's easy for me to be the dumbest person in the room. And it's those relationships, building relationships with those will create all those other opportunities we talked about.
What you said was all gold. And honestly, I've had so many like people have been on the podcast with like their origin story was exactly like that. They went and volunteered for someone and then they like learned how a skill out of it and then they used the skill. Like I don't want to drop names, but like I can think of exactly the person who did that. And then the one like, leveraging experience. I just had Joe on the show, I think like 2 weeks ago, and the exact same thing. He got to a point of experience. Now he's just like, I want to leverage that rather than all my time and stuff. So it's the progression through the what is it, like the ladder of going through investing, and all of that was completely true. It all resonated with me really well. Thank you. Russ, people are like, hey, this stuff is gold. I remember when we were talking before, you had a program where people were guaranteed to get $500 a month, or they get their money back. Tell us about what you have for options for people. Tell us like a little bit about your program, and tell us how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. By the way, I really appreciate you being able to let me spotlight this on your show. So we believe there's two things that people need to become successful. They need a system to build passive income. And so for US investors, we work on something called their passive income operating system. And it helps them utilize dividend paying whole life insurance to build the cash. We show them all the architecture to get all the money to flow through so they're ready to start investing in deals. The second thing that we do is we teach people how to become elite investors. For the person who's never done a deal or have only done a couple, but don't know, even if they had success, don't know why that they had success, we teach them how to become great investors. We are agnostic to the investment itself because we don't really care. We invest in so many different things, but what we know is that there are steps to becoming a lead investor. So we have a 12-week lab. It's our passive income lab. It's where we interview people to come in. They have to meet certain criteria to be a part of it. But if they get in, they'll be in a small group, no more than 10 people, that will go through a 12-week program, but they will be able to learn who their investor DNA is. They'll build their investor buy box. They'll learn all the due diligence tips. So we bring in all of our experts, all of our family office people that has done, hundreds or not thousands of deals, come in and pour into these people. And then they get to see deals and they run all of these filters in a safe environment. Because the real reason that I found that the most successful investors are successful is because they got more reps, and not just a few more reps. They have thousands of more reps than you and I do. Right. And here's what we need to do is that we need to get more reps, because what the biggest mistake most people make is they see a deal, do a deal. Or the opposite. They think that they need to see 100 deals before they do one deal. And that's based upon who we are, right? That investor DNA will dictate that. So we put them in a safe environment where they get to see lots of deals. They're trained by attorneys, by due diligence experts, by people, but it's a lab. So it's not just learning. They're having to do throughout the whole time. And we've been doing this program, and every single investing group is going out there, analyzing deals. And then we're teaching them how to fish. So then they're forced to go out, find deals, and bring those deals back to the group and analyze those deals and talk about those deals. So before they leave the group, they have invested in one or several deals and are producing at least $500 a month of passive income, or we continue to coach them for free. And that's what this group is about. And if you're interested in that, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/Canadian investing. And there's going to be links to all these things, some free resources, lots of ebooks, but that choose passive income link on there, if that's what you're looking for, is like, how do I level up as an investor? That might be something you'd be interested in.
Awesome. You want to say that website again a little slower?
Yeah. wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/Canadian investing, which is really funny because most people put me on like 2X on a podcast because they call us the slow talkers.
Yeah.
But that's funny.
Awesome. Russ, thank you so much for coming on the show. A lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Glenn.
That was a nice video. Bye.